Hello and welcome to my Pokemon Journeys, this is 116 review, for Champion's Pride, Lance vs Diantha. We're back from a break with a battle between Lance and Diantha. We get some really good continuity with Ash mentioning he knows both of them, because of course he does. We get Lance taking the lead by getting really into the atmosphere. He asks the trainers of Kanto and Johto to witness his battle, and we get to see some old original series characters cameo, like Richie, Jimmy, Marina and Vincent. It's such a cool way to do little cameos and see trainers we haven't seen in so long. Real treat here though is seeing how Lance is just super theatrical. He definitely felt a lot more serious in his battle against Leon, which was for the title of World Champion, so that makes sense, but seeing him have fun with this battle was great. I'm not going to recap the whole battle, but it really feels like the general gist of this match was Lance's strength versus Diantha's strategy. Lance certainly feels like his Pokemon rely a lot more on brute force than Diantha, and she has ways to combat that. So Lance uses his original ace, Dragonite, up against Diantha's Aurorus, and it's a dual reflecting life screen that allows Aurorus to stay and fight longer than it should have. And that goes on to be a big factor in Diantha's Gourgeist up against Lance's Gyarados, who is made weak to Gourgeist's Ghost Attack by Trick or Treat. Actually, when talking about Gourgeist, Team Rocket get a fantastic moment as they mention about Jessie Ray's run in Kalos too. Jessie is pretty dismissive of Diantha until she sees Gourgeist and is really rooting for it to win. And while I wanted Lance to win the battle, it's pretty cool to see a Pokemon that he's hyped up to be the Master's 8 ace, Gyarados, go down kind of early, leading to him revealing a new Pokemon he has with his Hydreigon. Of course, after taking out Gourgeist, it gets bodied by Mega Gardevoir, and I really like that with Gyarados down, Lance Dynamaxes Dragonite. It's such a simple thing to be happy about, but like, Ash doesn't Dynamax anything other than Gengar when he totally could. Seeing Lance take advantage of Dynamax in this way is pretty awesome, since the benefit of Dynamax is that pretty much any Pokemon can use it. So having it back to back with Leon Gigantamaxing his Rillaboom and now Lance Dynamaxing his Dragonite, pretty awesome stuff. I guess the most strategy Lance uses here is Dynamax for Max Hailstorm. We use a Hail to whistle down Gardevoir while Dragonite tanks it from the increased stamina of Dynamaxing. And when Dynamax wears off, getting a big hit to wrap up the match. I have to say I actually find it pretty great how Dragonite uses Max Whirlwind to protect itself from a Shadow Ball from Gardevoir. Of course it wouldn't impact Gardevoir if it hit, but it was a defensive move. Probably Dragonite's strongest in that regard. Just like when Ash uses Dragon Pulse on Tapu Koko and Alola League to get an advantage from a disadvantage. But sadly Lance's plan doesn't work out as the Dynamax wears off and Dragonite fires off a Hyper Beam, which Gardevoir just dodges and retaliates with a Moonblast to finish the battle. With battle done, Ash returns to the hallways of the stadium and sees Lance, who tells Ash to hang in there. I hope he's rooting for the kid from Kanto now. Ash then sees Iris, who is ready to head to a battle with Cynthia. Ash is on her side and she heads to the battleground. Out comes the starter Excadrill against Gastrodon. So before I get into my full thoughts, I think it's really worth mentioning that the part of the episode that feels the most flat is the animation. It doesn't really feel like a super dynamic battle befitting two of the strongest 8 trainers in a tournament. I can't really test what circumstances the animation staff have, but I know I didn't really feel the impact or power of these moves sadly. Luckily I think they nailed a lot of the art here. Like multiple times I saw myself thinking like, hey that's a cool shot of Lance, or that they really set his Dragonite apart from Ash and Iris's. Or that there's a nice smug looking Diantha. There are definitely some janky looking shots, but for the most part the art was nice. So I assume it's clear that I'm a Lance fan, and I'm not a fan of him feeling like more of a brute in this battle, because I think Leon vs Lance showed that Lance is actually pretty good at planning, and they didn't really capture his ability to strategize. It does feel like they were going for a brains versus brawn battle, and at least on Diantha's end, I think they delivered for Aurorus and Gourgeist. Aurorus basically provided support to enable Gourgeist to take Gyarados out of the picture, and set himself up to use super effective moves. In terms of strategy, Lance just felt downgraded to what came before, but at the very least it reinforced his strength. I mean, coming into this episode, it felt like the battle really could have went either way. I think Lance and Iris getting their rematch against Leon and Ash would have been awesome, but there's always openings for new matchups in the semi-finals. So Diantha also had as much reason to win as Lance could have. And regardless of if I'm personally upset that Lance lost or not, it was still a fairly close battle. I'm sure Leon vs Lance is going to be the only one that isn't close in the first rounds, but Lance and Diantha having me guessing until the end was nice. And something I just flat out loved about this episode was both competitors treating it as a performance. It put on a good show for people watching a universe. Leon gets ready to perform with Diantha when they battle. It's nice. I also think a nice little bonus is a little bit of Team Rocket continuity. It's a good way to include them, and it's great seeing things like Jessie being dismissive of Diantha for being more famous, and then referencing an old Pokemon. Are we ever going to see any of their Pokemon other than the Alola ones that we got for a minute? And lastly, something I really liked was Lance's respect for his Pokemon. So, for example, when Hydreigon took out Gourgeist, Lance made sure to thank Gyarados for victory too. It's just really nice. So I think this episode was okay. Definitely carried by its writing rather than the animation, but even then the writing has some problems. But it's a fine episode.